As hard as it is, as expensive as it is, we need to make a deal to bring everyone back. That should be the most important thing in our lives today.
A deal is needed, and it's needed now. That's the message former hostages who were held by Hamas and relatives of others still in captivity brought to the Vatican last week. Pope Francis received them for an emotional meeting where they shared personal stories and asked for his support in bringing the remaining 101 captives home. One of the family members who met Pope Francis last week was British-Israeli filmmaker Sharone Lifschitz. Both of her parents were taken by Hamas on October 7th of last year. Her mother, Yocheved, was freed 17 days later, but her 84-year-old father, Oded, remains in Hamas's captivity. To share her father's story and her experience meeting Pope Francis last week, Sharone joins us now from Tel Aviv. Sharone, thank you so much for joining us. First, can you tell us about your father, Oded? What do you want us to know about him, and what's the latest information you have on him?
The latest information is a year old. We know he was alive in Gaza when he arrived there. He was injured in his hand when the terrorists attacked my parents' home, but he survived it miraculously, and he was in Gaza alive. Since then, we don't know. My father spent a lifetime working for peace among nations. He spent a lifetime caring for the weaker people in society, for dignity for all, for Palestinians and Israeli, for a future for our kids from both sides. My father is 84. My mom is 86. Pope Francis is 88. I came with my mom to the Pope to ask him to help us, both in action and in prayer, to bring back our loved ones home.
Was that your main message to Pope Francis last week when you met with him at the Vatican?
Absolutely. It was incredibly emotional and moving to meet the Pope. He is a Pope I greatly admired as a person for a lifetime of working for very similar causes to my parents, who are peace activists, actually. And so I felt there was a huge affinity between him and my mom. He knows who my mom is. He knows what she stands for. And I think they really share an outlook about the importance of looking after all of us together. And I think he really connected with the plight of my father and the other 100 hostages. I think he also feels very strongly towards the suffering of Palestinians. And I think this is not exclusive. You can feel incredibly heartfelt emotions towards both sides.
Are there any other details you can share with us from that meeting? Did Pope Francis say anything specific that stood out to you in particular?
He said a few things, but for me, maybe the most emotional moment was towards the end, when he suggested that we all sit calmly together and pray, each in his own way. And I feel sometimes there's been so many words said over the last 412 days, and the pain somehow is there. And sometimes in the silence and sitting with him in prayer for a minute or two, there was maybe more was passed. He really wanted to make sure we know how much he cares. He really wanted to know that he thinks about us and pray for our loved ones every day.
And Sharone, just days after your Vatican meeting, there was an excerpt from a new book by Pope Francis that was released. And in this book passage, Pope Francis calls for an investigation to determine whether Israel's attacks in Gaza constitute a genocide. These comments, they've drawn sharp criticism this week, and I wanted to give you a chance to react as well. Did you hear about this, and were you surprised by these comments?
I think, I think the word genocide is a big one. I think the tragedy of the Palestinian people has as much to do with Hamas and what Hamas has done to its own people. The way Hamas has used its own population as human shields is heartbreaking. all of us that believe in the sanctity of life, in the possibility of people for redemption in a way, are heartened by what is happening. I don't know if the word genocide doesn't move away from what really is happening, which is that the Hamas itself is ready to sacrifice so many of its own people to put its infrastructure within civilian infrastructure within churches and hospitals and mosques and schools. And that they were ready to commit such an atrocity. 57 people of my kibbutz were murdered on that day. 77 were taken hostage, including very, very elderly people, including my parents. This is not an action of somebody who believes in life. This is the action of somebody who absolutely wants to draw the utmost hate from the other side. I so regret that our conflict has gone so low now, that murders of women and children in Israel on the 7th of October is kind of becomes just something that we can get over. I also regret that we have not reached a ceasefire and a peace agreement before. My parents have worked a lifetime for a real peace agreement. And I think my father always said that, you make a peace with your enemies, and that war is the failure to make agreements in the end. We are living through the absolute atrocity my parents have spent a lifetime trying to prevent.
Speaking of calls for a ceasefire and hostage negotiations, Sharone, here in the U.S., we are preparing for the incoming Trump administration. Do you have a message for the president-elect when it comes to bringing the hostages home?
Bring them home. Bring them home. Winter is coming. They're in dire strait. They've been there 412 days. They are hardly surviving as it is. Bring them home. This is the only way to finish this war and make a deal so that we can withdraw from Gaza, that Gaza, the people of Gaza, can start looking for a future without Hamas, that gives them the options to raise the children with dignity and with love. And we would slowly then build bridges. They are our neighbors. They're going to stay our neighbors at the end of this war. I want them to be living in peace next to us.
Sharone, be assured that we join our prayers with yours. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.